best is yet to come.
And hello, everyone. A hearty, warm welcome to the CuppaChino Club Social TV. I'm your host, Bridgetti Lambanda from Cape Town in South Africa. We're already on day 40 of the lockdown here. And a hearty welcome to my co-host, Viola. Viola, how are you today?
I'm very, very well, thank you. It's been a good day, lovely day in Cape Town. Yeah, it's been a busy day. Had lots to do, lots of admin to catch up on, as always. And also had an opportunity to just chat to Chanel she's also part of the CuppaChino Club, and she did a great show on the Childhood Museum's Instagram page. And she invited Shay and I onto her page to just talk about what our experiences have been during lockdown. So it was really fun.
Oh, awesome.
We had a great day. Yeah. Busy day today.
I know. Wow, wonderful. We had an amazing show yesterday about the intersection of COVID-19 and the water industry. And yes, I cannot wait for us to dive into today's topic. But before I do that, I want to say a hearty warm welcome to our audience on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Periscope, on Twitter. And we also want to say welcome to everyone who's going to be watching the show on the replay on Facebook. But I do know that our guest is sharing it to his Facebook page. So a warm welcome to his community on Facebook. Our guest today hardly needs an introduction, but for the benefit of our audience in South Africa who may not be as familiar with him, Mitch Jackson combines law, social media, and technology to disrupt, hack, and improve his clients' companies, causes, and professional relationships. He uses social media and technology to help good attorneys become great trial lawyers and to show everyone, not just lawyers, how to communicate and to negotiate more persuasively and effectively. And he is a very early adopter of live video. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's give a hearty warm welcome to our special guest for this evening, Mitch Jackson.
That was awesome. Thank you for making me feel so special. Bridgetti and Viola, it's great to see you guys. It's good to be on the show. That's the best introduction I've ever had. Felt like dancing.
Well, yeah.
You don't see lawyers dancing that much, right?
You feel like you've just walked the red carpet, like virtually walked the red carpet, don't you?
Absolutely. It's good to be here.
Thank you
Mitch,
so much.
Great to have you on the show. You know, with COVID-19 in South Africa anyway, and from what I've seen on the news, a lot of businesses are dying to get back to opening up their businesses and opening up their doors to re-enter the economy. But we do want them to do so safely.
We do.
What are the steps that businesses can take to do so in a manner that doesn't harm them? And I think there's four things that we'd like to cover. It's business liability insurance, compliance, signage, and then liability waivers and hold harmless agreements. Where do we start? Because I know everyone wants to rush to open their doors. What is the first thing that a business needs to do before they rush into that?
Absolutely. Let me just start off, if you don't mind, with that was the happiest I've been in a long time, because this has been draining on all of us, right? We're concerned about everybody's health and safety. I'm concerned about my clients and their businesses, the local community. And these are very, very serious times. And that's where my focus has been, right? On friends, family, and our clients. Now, having said that, I want to pivot and put on our business hats and answer your questions, from an objective fashion, from a lawyer's perspective. And, but that was the first time that I've smiled like that in a long time. So thank you for that. So to answer your question, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a local coffee shop, where you serve your community each and every morning, and you have for years. And the COVID-19 virus has just hit, right? So you shut down 2 months ago. And you've decided that because you want to feed your family, you've decided that because of where you live, whether it's in the United States, South Africa, wherever it might be around the world, businesses are starting to open up. And you've decided, I'm going to open up my coffee shop and start taking care of my community. I need to feed my family. I need to pay my employees. I want to make sure that, that life goes on. I get that, and that's the challenge my clients have. And so when you're in your coffee shop and when you're serving customers that are walking in the door, you want to make sure that you're offering them a safe environment, right? You want to make sure that when you hand them their cup of coffee and their bagel in the morning, that it's a safe transaction. Everybody's benefiting. Everybody's enjoying the experience. And at the end of the day, you're providing a much needed service to your community. The last thing you want to have happen is to go through this for the next 2 months and do your best to keep your business open and hiring your employees and keeping your customers happy. And then two months from now, you have a process server walk through the front door and serve you with a lawsuit because you've got a client or a customer alleging that your employee negligently infected your customer with COVID-19. They've been in the hospital, they've incurred medical bills. God forbid somebody in their families died from this infection, and now they're holding you responsible. And I don't want to see that happen, right? And so what we're going to talk about today are 4 different ways that business owners can make sure they're offering to their customers a safe environment. We're going to add a business and legal twist to everything I talk about, because although I am a lawyer here in Southern California, I'm not your lawyer. I'm not offering legal advice. I am sharing some thoughts that your viewers may want to take into consideration when reopening the doors to their business, understanding the story I just shared. And the first thing you want to do is make sure, regardless of where you're located, and the laws are different in each state and in each country, if you have business liability insurance, ask your business liability insurance agent if you're covered for a coronavirus infection claim. If you're not, what type of rider, what type of additional insurance is available to protect you and your employees and your business from a COVID-19 infection claim. I think this is a reality that business owners, including my law firm, need to take into consideration when we're meeting with clients tomorrow, next month, and even next year. That's the first thing, Brigetti and Viola, that I think that the business owner needs to pay attention to. I've got 3 more things I do want to talk about, but if you have any questions about that particular topic, that's the first step. And I'm not sure if in South Africa there is business liability available for these types of claims, but it's probably worth asking your agent.
Well, Mitch, it's such an important topic because I think, look, I work with a lot of small businesses. I work with business owners. And I think one of the biggest challenges is to prioritize how you spend. Lots of people have started businesses not out of opportunity. So they haven't seen an opportunity in the market. They've literally started their businesses because they've really seen, there's a need in their family. It's just, I've started my business. I'm selling, bagels and coffee. In our instance, it would be something fantastic called Casistas and coffee, and so you're selling all your stuff. I don't know if a lot of our small businesses even have business liability. So I think the first place to start is to make sure that you do have business liability, especially in these trying times. And then, of course, to make sure that COVID-19 is actually covered within that business liability discussion with your agent or whoever you're going to be using. So I think that's the first point, and that's a great point.
It's a great point that many small business owners didn't have liability insurance before this pandemic hit the world. And what we've noticed before social media and before the internet is that on average, at least here in the United States, most small businesses are involved in claims or lawsuits 3 times in their business career. I think that because it's easier than ever to open up a small business in today's world, online and offline, that number is probably going to double or triple for small businesses in today's world. And so you want to have liability insurance. And the reason you want to have it is if somebody brings a claim. Let's say you bring an employee in that had COVID-19, you thought they were better, and they weren't, and they did infect a customer. Well, by having liability insurance, your liability insurance company will hire a law firm at their expense to defend you. If a judgment is brought against you, your insurance will pay that judgment or negotiate a settlement. So it helps you run your business and be able to focus time on your business, put your head down on the pillow at night and get a good night's sleep, and you let your insurance company take care of all the legal stuff. I think that's one of the biggest upsides to having liability insurance. The second thing, though, Viola, that I think people need to pay attention to is, what are your state rules and regulations? What are your local district or community rules and regulations when it comes to health and safety requirements? Are you following those rules and regulations? Here in California, we have rules and regulations where small businesses, if you're an exempted company like a law firm or businesses opening up this week with or without the permission of the state, the 6 to 10 foot rule, the washing your hands rule, the wearing a mask rule, social distancing and spacing. Are you following those rules and regulations that your community has laid out? And if you are not, then you're opening yourself up for additional liability exposure because you're breaking the rules of safety, and that can be used against you in a court of law during a legitimate good faith claim. So the second thing I like to do is make sure as a small business owner that you're up to speed on what the local requirements are, regardless of where you're located in the world, so that you can help protect yourself, your employees, and frankly, your customers too.
Yeah. I think, you know what happens with small business, Mitch? The reality of running a small business is that lots of small business owners just sort of cut corners, mainly because of they don't have the resources that's required. They don't have the sort of cash flow that's required. And that's one of the things we were talking about on the show, is the fact that in order to open your doors, you actually will have to invest. You'll have to actually have a financial outlay in terms of sanitizers and additional seating, etc., depending on the context of your own business. But I think it is so important that you abide by the state's, by our government's rules and regulations. Now, I know both local municipalities as well as provincial, all three spheres of government in South Africa have been very generous in terms of communicating, in my opinion, quite clearly what those rules and regulations are. I also think it's important for us to understand that in the South African context, people are so, and maybe it's a global context, people are so desperate for their jobs that you're going to find a lot of people coming back to work, even though they haven't been cleared and their tests haven't come back. They're going to say to you, I'm good to go, and your risk just completely increases. So thanks for those two. So that's just having the liability, and then, liability insurance, and then, of course, covering, just make sure you understand what is required in terms of health and safety, as well as the new COVID-19 rules for level 4.
In Texas today, I read, and I think this happened yesterday, a restaurant in Texas opened up yesterday, and the owner of the restaurant told his or her employees not to wear masks. It didn't fit in with the theme of the restaurant. And so now you've got, in my opinion, an owner of a small business placing the health and safety of the customers and employees at risk, which naturally would open you up to a liability claim. So I think the safety of everybody involved in the transaction should be top priority. And these are interesting times. In addition to, by the way, if you have a beauty salon or a donut shop or a sandwich shop, or you're serving coffee, regardless of where you live in the world, you can go to Google and you can type in COVID-19 safety suggestions for a small coffee shop or sandwich shop, and you'll get a list of safety precautions for your state. The information's out there. And I think it's really smart that people implement those precautions in their small business, maybe even use tape or paint on the floor to help delineate boundaries, the 6 to 10 foot rule, so that when someone's in a chair getting their hair cut and they get up to walk over to use the bathroom, they're not walking across, not thinking, someone else's safe space. So there are all types of ways as a small business owner to set parameters within your business to protect everybody involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Mitch, what are the signage suggestions that you can offer to small businesses, well, small and large businesses, to protect themselves from liability?
I think what's important is, and a good protocol, and what we're suggesting to our clients here in California is to go ahead and put a sign up on the door with respect to how dangerous COVID-19 is, generally speaking. Maybe you have a stand-up sign on the outside patio or inside in a lobby or waiting area, just raising awareness as to the COVID-19 dangers. If your company is taking specific precautions, you might want to include what precautions you're taking. Because of COVID-19, we are not booking every single haircut chair in our salon. We're booking every third chair. We apologize for the delay, for the wait, for not being able to get you in on time, for the longer sandwich lines or coffee lines, whatever it might be. I think signage is always a good idea. I think local patrons of a business, I'm going to walk into my local donut shop or coffee shop, regardless of whether or not they have a sign, once I feel it's safe to do so. But I think that sign shows a level of responsibility by the business owner, just reminding everybody of what we need to pay attention to. Now, having said that, along with signage, some companies have sign-in sheets where you sign in to get your haircut or to pick up something at a store. It might be a good idea for store owners to include on those sign-in sheets a disclaimer, a waiver, a hold harmless agreement where in exchange for you providing products and services, and once again, this is state and country dependent. Each state in the United States is different, but in exchange for someone coming in and getting their haircut, they're waiving any and all liability. They're holding you harmless. They're signing and acknowledging a disclaimer of liability so that if they were infected, they're waiving any and all rights to move forward with the claim. That could be part of your signage, depending on what type of company you have. I do tell lawyers, doctors, and CPAs who I represent that use retainer agreements to include that type of language in your retainer agreement when you're meeting with a client who's sitting across your desk or sitting across the table in a conference room. There's no reason why you can't, subject to your state bar rules, subject to your rules of professional responsibility, depending on what type of professional you are, include that type of language in your documents. It's full disclosure, it's arm's length. You're just simply delineating in writing the agreement and understanding between the parties. And you can take that concept and also apply it to signage, both offline and online. If you've got a small business in the community and you're giving away coupons to have people come in and get a buy one sandwich and get the second sandwich for free, or the same thing with a cup of coffee. In your online coupons, you might include a disclaimer or a COVID-19 warning or a link where if you use this coupon, then you're agreeing to the disclaimer, the hold harmless agreement, the waiver of liability when you present this coupon to a representative at our store. There are all different types of things you can do depending on what you do for a living, the type of business you have, and the laws of your state, region, or jurisdiction.
There's so many moving parts to this, that one may not consider. I was thinking while you were talking, for example, that sign-in sheet, generally speaking, you walk into a business, they've got a sign-in register there, and they give you a pen. Now, for example, you would encourage your clients, I would imagine, to rather use their own pen than to use that one pen that every single person's going to be touching. I know, for example, in South Africa, you may no longer use biometric devices to identify staff as they walk in and out of your business. So there's a lot of adaptation that we need to make and be aware of when we enter the workplace.
Imagine coming in and let's say it's a doctor's office. Let's say it is a hair salon, for example, where you sign in and the person greeting you, there's a 10-foot square painted on the floor or taped on the floor where you're purposefully keeping your distance from the customer. he or she is handing you a fresh new pen with a rubber glove. You've got a local business with their name on the pen that has nothing to do with your hair salon, but they're donating the pens to help promote their printing company down at the other end of the shopping center. And as a customer, I would be very appreciative of my haircut salon. I don't go to a salon, but my barber taking the time. My barber right now is my wife, and I think she's doing a pretty good job. But you guys think? I'm pretty impressed. I think she's hired. But I would be impressed with somebody taking the time to hand me a new pen out of a sanitized bag using a blue surgical glove each and every time. I'm going to tell my neighbors and my friends about that. And it also helps protect everybody's safety. So yes, there are many different things that we can do at the internal level of the store to not only protect our patients, our clients, and our customers, but also ourselves and our employees, and to minimize any exposure to liability infection claims.
That's a great marketing pivot move, Mitch.
Yeah, I was
that's
actually going to comment on that as well. We've been talking about marketing and getting businesses to pivot. That was such a great idea. I also just listening to the idea of the signage, it just shows your clients so much respect. It shows the person
Absolutely.
walking into your doors, I respect you, I respect your health, I respect the fact that you've taken the time to come and visit me. Let me tell you what it is I'm doing to protect that respect and trust that we have. So it is such an important step. People, there's no way they can misinterpret it or interpret it any other way than.
But it's a two-edged sword. It's a two-edged sword, Viola. So let me just share devil's advocate here. Let's say on your outdoor signage, you say, listen, we're so concerned with your safety that we have a 10-foot rule here in our hair salon. Our stylists are protected, and obviously they need to cut your hair, but everyone else is going to stay 10 feet away from you. We'll make that promise to you. If you don't do that, if you have stylists that are coming over and hugging customers, sitting on their laps, joking around, high-fiving them as they walk by, walking through their space, if somebody gets sick, you could argue that the hair salon had knowledge of the 10-foot rule. In fact, they promoted it, yet they violated their own rule. And because of that, a customer became infected. And so they should be held liable. So when you do use this signage, make sure you follow the details that you set forth in your signage, in your coupons, in your what you have next to your sign-in sheet. Anything that you're putting out there that you're promising your customer you're going to do, make sure you do it, because if you don't, it's going to be used against you if somebody gets sick, right? See, That's the lawyer in me right there. I'm thinking of both sides of the fence here.
But absolutely, it's what we were saying. We were saying to all the businesses that were opening their doors, in our case on the 4th of May, please be very careful and comply, because if you don't comply, you're actually making it difficult for your whole industry. Because if you don't, some of our supermarkets have just closed down. I mean, the government have just shut them down because they have found out that people are being infected. They're not applying, and you can't afford that in the current economic climate. You cannot afford for your business to be closed for a single day. So if there are rules, abide by the rules. We've just we've had a fantastic period of lockdown. I mean, it was extended period of lockdown. Everybody was very keen. We sort of obeyed the rules. We complied. As business owners, we need to play our part as well.
When we talk about using releases and waivers and hold harmless agreements, once again, those are dependent on where you live, what state, what country you're in, what type of business you have. There are public policy limitations and exceptions to using those types of agreements in certain types of situations. So you want to check with your local laws, rules, and regulations. But having said that, if I was a hair salon, what I would do is I would accept appointments online. And during the appointment process, that's where I would have my COVID-19 understanding, my waiver, my disclaimer, my hold harmless agreement. The appointment would need to be booked through the website. Once somebody clicks and books that appointment, they're acknowledging everything we just talked about. So when they come into the business, they have already agreed to the terms and conditions of the limitation of liability, and then you can just focus on signing someone in. and taking care of them. The same thing with ordering food for takeout at a sandwich restaurant, or maybe coffee to go. Anything you can do online and incorporate these approaches into your online ordering process, I think it helps protect you. And then having said that, remind your employees on a daily basis, whether it's a Slack channel, an email, an early morning meeting, of all of these safety requirements. Because I'll tell you one thing about human nature is the longer we're exposed to something, the more comfortable we get with it, the more casual, the more we let our guard down. I have seen this as a lawyer practicing for 34 years. New business owners will follow the rules and regulations to a T, and as they get comfortable, a little bit more successful, they'll have a tendency to back off and not cross their T's and dot their I's like they should. And I think in today's world, with COVID-19, if you drop your guard even for 10 minutes, it can be devastating for everybody involved. So everything we're talking about, you want to remind your team of this protocol on a daily basis or several times a day. And that way you can just deal with the human aspect of everything we're talking about, because I think people are a little bit too casual right now with respect to how safe they think it is out there. And it's not.
Mitch, you're 100% right. You know, I was out doing some shopping the other day, and I was horrified in the store that I was in to find not only the cashiers, but also management constantly fiddling with their masks, taking them on and off very casually. And I felt really scared and saddened. And I thought, you know, if this store has to close down, it's going to hit them hard because it was a massive store. And if the management is not able to set the example in following the rules, which are already in place. So what you said is a great reminder to not get lackadaisical as time goes on, and to be careful, because obviously, I mean, the rules are in place, but if they're not enforcing it every single day and something happens, they're going to be in for a rough ride.
I think so. Brigitte, you mentioned May 4th. Is that when businesses are opening back up in South Africa?
That is when some businesses were allowed to open up. So we've started with a partial opening up of businesses here. So not everyone's allowed to trade. Basically, businesses that offer essential services. So there's a specified list of businesses that are permitted to trade under. We've got 5 levels. Level 5 is full shutdown. So we've just come out of the full shutdown and moved down to level 4.
Gotcha.
And interesting that you may not know is in South Africa under level 4, we've still banned the sale of cigarettes and alcohol, for example. You know, and there's a huge outcry about that, but we're not going to dive into that. But that's one of the things that's still under ban under level 4 here in South Africa.
Gotcha. So I meant May 4th. So that's quite different from here, where they've loosened up the delivery requirements, where you can have alcohol actually delivered to your home in California. And before, you weren't able to do that. So a little different contrasting cultures. There is one other thing that we haven't talked about. And here in the United States, they're talking about creating new immunity laws, where if somebody does come into your business and becomes infected and ill because of COVID-19, under the immunity law, they would not be allowed to bring a claim or lawsuit against the business owner. And that hasn't happened yet, but I would just encourage everyone watching this who's a small business owner, stay on top of what laws are being brought into effect in your community, in your jurisdiction, in your venue, in your state, in your country. Because frankly, if an immunity law does come down like that, then it does lessen your obligations from a legal standpoint on some of the things we talked about with business coverage on COVID-19 claims, with spending money on signage. I still think all of that's a really good idea, but everything we talked about, it could be tweaked quite a bit if the immunity laws come down like some politicians are talking about. I'm not a big fan of that. I think every business owner, regardless of who you are, what you do, what type of product or service you sell, there should be a standard of due care. I think it's your responsibility to make sure you're offering a safe environment. But having said that, that is another issue that I would love to have small business owners pay attention to.
No, Mitch, thanks so much. There's just like, you have shared so much information, and I think it's just really been insightful. There's a lot for small business owners watching the show to chew on and to, just consider and think about. I know that it is incredibly challenging for small business owners at the moment, and everybody's just trying to open their doors. But I really think that for all of our viewers watching the show, we really need to give it due consideration. Rather take a day or two, step back, make sure that when you do open, you're ready to open. You've put all these things in place. There is so much, and a lot of the stuff that you're talking about can actually be done from home. So,
Absolutely.
writing up your disclaimers, writing up your waivers, setting up your website so that it can actually take appointments, orders online, etc. All of those good things can be done from home. And I really do think our business owners should just take the time, take a breath, take 2 steps back, because the unintended consequences of just, opening up are not you really do need to sit down and think about all those good things. So thanks so much for sharing your time with us. And we wish you everything all the best with your own business, and asking you just please stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you, friends and family, for allowing you to be with us for these few minutes. And we really, really enjoyed the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Viola. I appreciate it. Thank you, Brigitte. I really appreciate it. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you again back tomorrow, same time, same place. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.